It's do or die time here in Seattle. The International is back in business, and it is our last day of the group stages. This is where every single player currently outside of LFY are going to be biting their lip. They realize that this is the only chance they have to go ahead and secure their spot on the main stage. Will it be upper bracket? Will it be lowers? Or will you be even lower than that? 6 feet under and forced to watch from the stands as the main event does transpire. It all comes down to this, $23 million on the line, but a whole lot more than that. And indeed, I get to introduce you to the crew that are going to be telling you everything you need to know, the do's and don'ts, the will they, won't they. I have, of course, PyCat, we have the lovely CCNC, and we have Blitz on the end there, rocking a cheeky turquoise today. Guys, this is it, Blitz. This is where the high-pressure Dota truly begins here at the International. You have games where you know the rules coming into this, right? You know you win, you're in, you lose, you're out for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, and this is, the intensity alone is absolutely insane. You have to imagine, and people think through the mentality of a Dota player. You worked your entire year, you sacrifice so much throughout the year.
Yeah.
You give up everything. Potential relationships, you can't do anything else. You just have to play and grind. The entire month leading up to this, all you did was think about Dota, live with the same 5 guys, and there's a potential that all that sacrifice through all that year, in 1 or 2 games, suddenly you're out, and it's going to feel like the biggest disappointment.
It is hours upon days upon years of dedication. And I mean, I have the dedicated joining me as well as, of course, the ones that we'll be seeing in game. Pyka, you can kind of testify. This is the culmination of hard work, sacrifices, and just a whole lot of Dota.
Yeah, for sure. Man, TI is, it means everything to anyone who plays Dota. If you do well at TI, you know, your year, it's good. It's been a good year.
Yeah.
If you don't do well at TI, well, try again next year.
The amount of pressure like going into these matches is just immense. Like, it's so stressful watching other teams play, especially for the teams that their fate isn't completely in their hands. Like, it kind of depends on how other teams do. Sitting and watching these other teams play, hoping, man, I hope they lose.
Right.
Or, you know, I hope, you know, we do our well in our next match. Just sitting there thinking about it, rolling it around in your head, it gets like really stressful.
I hadn't even given that consideration. Like, not even just when you're in the server, not even when you're just playing, but also when you realize, okay, they need to lose a game here. Your fate is completely out of your hands. Okay, there is a lot that is going to be going down today, and it is my absolute pleasure to be able to guide you through this turbulent time for the players. 18 teams from around the world doing battle here in Seattle. Ooh, battle in Seattle. Why have I not done that before? I like that. Either way, get involved for this battle in Seattle over on social media. There's plenty of stuff to do. It's just the hashtag TI7 and throw it at Dota2. This is going to be the hashtag for the entire week, or rather fortnight, of video games, so be sure to get involved, and also just try and go ahead and let us know who you think's going to make it, because it is not clear at this point in time. Facebook as well if you're interested, Dota2, and over on Instagram as well, because we're hip and cool and like our pictures filtered. Dota2 TI is what you can go ahead and hit us up with. If you're watching on Twitch, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube as well, that's right, you can watch it on both with different functions along the way, but for the dank memes and the KAPPAs, you can find it all on one particular platform. Now then, gentlemen, you know, that's the housekeeping done. I think we start, before we start telling this story, by just bringing up those standings and trying to understand exactly how we got to this point. It will be brief. I want to kind of focus more on where we're going, but I think just to kind of fill us in, there's lots of new faces potentially joining us. How did we get to this point, PyCat?
Well, we got to this point
Let's
because
start with Group A.
Starting with Group A, we saw everyone kind of anticipated Liquid to do well. Everyone thought that EG would also be up there somewhere. Those teams, they've been, you know, doing what they're supposed to. There were some hiccups along the way for, I would say, EG. Liquid have been looking pretty solid. Secret, some people expected them to do better. I guess they've been underperforming a bit. Empire, no one knows if they would have done, you know, better or worse with the, you know, without their stand-in.
Sure.
And then there's TNC. They had a, I think still, it's a, they did better than people expected them to, although the question is, should people expect them
that was kind of
to be up there already, or, you know, are we still kind of thinking that they're underdogs?
I mean, this is going to be, what's they've managed to do over the course of these 3 days is make sure that they're not going to be falling kind of into the, you know, elimination zone. But there is so much more on the line as well, Quinn. You can testify to this. Upper bracket is the dream for the 4 teams. Of course, it is going to be split 4 into the upper bracket of main event, 4 into the lowers. And so TNC, EG, IGV, they're all up for like contention over in Group A for that kind of upper bracket dream.
Yeah, not even just having the cushion, but not having to play that best of one is just so nice. Like the best of one is just absolutely terrifying. It's, you know, like Blitz said, it's your entire year for, you know, 45 to 60 minutes and just gone.
That is a fantastic way to summarize it. Your entire year. We've just said how important TI is, Will. And I'm laughing, but I guess it's because I don't really know what else to do. Your entire year in a best of one.
Yeah. Look at this. We're in a situation throughout the year, Planet Odd. We get top 4 at Boston Major.
Yeah.
Year's okay. We win ESL Genting shortly after that. And then, you know, you don't qualify. You don't even qualify for TI, much less place badly. And it feels like all of those things, it didn't matter. Why did we do any of that? Why did we waste our time together? It's the biggest disappointment that as a Dota player that you're going to go through. And the weird thing is we kind of got over it because, you know, it's whatever. But when you're at TI and you do poorly, you just think it's such a disappointment. And the bigger thing, too, that we should mention is being in the upper bracket, historically, the teams that have started in the upper bracket, at least for the last 4 TIs that I can remember, have gone on to won the event.
The only exception is EG, right?
EG, I thought, started in the upper and then they lost.
Yeah, right.
To go into
But the lower bracket hero.
But they started. But
Yeah,
they had that cushion of a game to learn from. You absolutely want this. Think about DC last year, CDEC, all the teams that have historically done well. They've had this upper bracket advantage. You don't want to be the first team to have to make history.
Absolutely not. We talked about Group A just briefly. We'll touch on Group B as well now in terms of how we got here and where our eyebrows are most particularly raised. Quinn, I know you're familiar, and I do feel like I'm sometimes throwing you into the DC discussion a little too much, but it is interesting for a multitude of reasons. I'm sure Blitz will remind you of that. But DC 6-6, they are safe from elimination. I think that for them, that's kind of like that's step one of many here at TI.
Yeah, it's relieving making sure you aren't in that bottom slot for sort of these middle tier teams that people aren't sure how they're going to perform. But, you know, they'd still like to get into the upper bracket. I think it's still possible, right? Yeah, so, you know, they're definitely shooting to just win out the rest of their games, trying to get hyped before the matches today and just, like, be ready, go into it confident. Because, you know, like we talked about, the upper bracket it's, like, absolutely massive, especially for a team that's, you know, not considered to do super well.
So if we look at this now, just quickly, when we're putting DC under the microscope, they must win all of their games, and then, so great, congratulations, you've won all your games. Now you just have to sit there and cross your fingers and toes and hope for 2 or more losses from OG and IG. Any sort of Dota friendships are out the window today, Pycat, because you're going to be hoping that some of those buddies that you will go and meet at the after party or share a coffee with in the morning, you're going to be hoping that they lose.
Me?
No, not you. I was talking more generic.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. That's how it is. I think DC, and the thing is, you don't want to put yourself in that position. You never kind of want to be, you never want to be put in a position where you need to rely on others to lose. And they have. You know, they've had their chances in these group stage matches. Had they done better already, they wouldn't be in that pickle. So.
Aw, pickle.
Yeah.
I was saying this to you, wasn't I? There is occasional words you use which just blow my mind that English is a second language to you. Pickle is one of them.
Right.
You said linger the other day. I was like, linger? Crazy. All right, well, his English skills aside, there is something that is more alarming than that, and that is, of course, the fact that we talk of DC, Will. OG have only got 1 extra win on top of that. OG, their upper bracket hope, you talk about winning TI, you know, OG would probably have been in that category of, you know, need the win, want the win, and have the opportunity to do so. Now they're only, you know, separated by a single game from that of DC.
Yeah, and if you think about it, one bad year last year, okay, maybe that's a fluke. 2, you're starting to see a pattern, and you don't want that to kind of be your label where you show up to the other events, you come to TI and you disappoint. Because at that point, I think it's a mentality thing. And I mean, can you imagine the position that both DC and OG are in? For example, that second game against OG that DC played where they were up 18K, can you imagine, Quinn, 1 game separating you from being able to win TI?
So just to put into perspective for OG, right, they have to win all 4 of their games today.
Yes.
And they have to hope that IG only win 3. That's the only way for them to get to upper bracket, and the magic number is 11. And 11 wins guarantees the upper bracket for Newbee, VP, OG, IG. That is something to bear in mind. So if you are a fan of any of the teams we've just mentioned, keep your eyes on those standings. We'll be updating them, and we'll be joining you throughout the day. You'll be seeing a little bit more of our faces today as we continue this adventure. But yeah, keep your eyes on that. 11 is the number. You can see it there. Currently, I mean, it feels quite far away. I mean, 7, 6. DC, of course, we've talked about their chances is a little different. But outside of that, we'll start looking towards the bottom of the bracket. Cloud9, can I ask you now, Quinn, not throwing you under the bus too much, is this a disappointment? Is this a disappointing performance from Cloud9? Have they not met expectations?
Yeah, I think they were sort of expected to be that middle of the pack. I think people even had higher expectations for them, higher than DC. So, maybe one of those teams that could potentially break into the upper bracket with a good run. And I think, even more than disappointing for fans or people watching, it's disappointing for them, right? You come into this, you do really well in the qualifier, you've played well against other teams. They've done, quite well at some of the tournaments they've made it to, almost beating EG at Manila. And then suddenly you come in and you're 2-12. You're right on the brink of not making it to the main stage of TI.
You watched some of their games, right? What do you think? Can you find anything? I mean, you played with these guys, against them, etc. Is there anything you can find, like when you look at them, that you feel this is where it kind of went wrong?
Is there something obvious, I think is the question.
I think a major part of it maybe just be like confidence, may be like a mental thing. You start losing these games, you lose confidence, and you kind of just flounder around. You can't find your stance again. And I think that's where they've been at for the past couple of days. Hopefully they've figured things out somewhat for today. Do
you think they're different from kind of how they were playing when they were playing in the qualifiers?
I think so. I think they were a lot stronger in the qualifiers. Granted, against weaker teams.
It's against weaker teams, yeah.
But okay, so you've just used the word confidence as to where some of those shortcomings have come from. This is where I'm going to start pulling on the coach thread, because we have 3 people who in one way or another are in relation to coaching. Some have coached. Quinn, I know that you're kind of supporting Stan King, who's going to be behind Cloud9. On the other side of things, Hellraisers, who are also in that situation with Saxa. Of course, Will and Pycat are familiar with them. Can a coach contribute to confidence, Will? Is that something you've given a whack at? Do you sit there?
Clearly not me.
Pat them on the back and say everything's going to be okay?
I mean, you can pat them on the back all you want, but you still have 1 win if you're HR.
Yeah.
Like, that's rough. I feel for Saxa. I was watching the games with him the other day, and I was like, it's brutal, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. Because it's a different experience where, I mean, Pycat can attest to this. You just sit there, and you can't do anything. It's out of your hands at this point, and you're just wringing your hands, and you're just like, I hope they learned from what I told them. That's all you can hope for at that point.
I didn't even consider that, Pele. Like, it doesn't matter what you've said, doesn't matter how much of a tendencies you've outlined or the draft you've won. It's entirely out of your hands of how that success is kind of translated.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that is the thing about coaching. That's why you need to make sure that you are as prepared as possible, and that means, and that's everything. You need to talk to the players about when they go into this game, what should they be thinking about? They should be, you need to be focused on this game. You need to be thinking about your own hero. Okay, what am I going to do? You go into this game, you go into this booth later on at main stage. Now it's this group stage, but you go in there, you're going to play your game, you sit there, you know your enemy team, you kind of see the heroes that they're going to pick. You need to start thinking, okay, what am I going to do this game? Am I a support player? All right, where are my wards going? Are we going offensive tri lane? Are we going safe lane? What do we need to see? What do I need to do in this game? And and as a coach, that is also kind of part of your job, to kind of make sure that they are in the right mindset to start thinking in these kind of patterns.
So almost like on an individual basis, like a flowchart. Kind of like, okay, minutes 1 to 5, this is what I want you thinking about. Is that the kind of thing you're up to?
I think you prepare them to kind of go into those type of thoughts. You prepare them, you set them up so that there is an outline. Because I think that when you are at tournaments like this, anytime you can make it easier for players, then you do something. All you need to do, you just need to make it as simple as possible, because Dota is a really hard game. Dota is very hard, and people are also difficult, especially when it comes to tournaments with a very big sum of money. And there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot at stake. People become nervous, they become scared. You need to deal with all these things. So when you can make anything easier, it's a lot better, because then it's just more clear. You have kind of a structure, you have sort of a plan, and you can kind of if you can just follow that plan and you feel comfortable with it and everyone kind of knows what to do, it helps you immensely.
Does that sound about right to you? Well, is that a similar format that you approached when you were doing the old coaching? Because, I mean, the reason we're on this coaching topic is because the 2 teams who are battling for survival, of course, in Group B, both have a coach. You guys both know those coaches to different degrees, and I think it's interesting to know that, who's going to take this?
HR all the way. I know they've only got one push so far, but come on, Saksa, put it together. You've got some time. You know that you can still make it despite all these things. I mean, it's like the worst situation to be in, where you're fighting to not be last place. Like, that's not exactly what you imagine when you go to TI and you're trying to accomplish your dreams. But I mean, PyCat, as somebody who this year on Navi has been in this position frequently, being near the bottom and just trying not to be last place and embarrass yourself, what kind of mindset do you feel like you have to prepare yourself in?
Well, I think when you are there, like, you need to find a way to get a fresh win. You know, you need to find something that you can kind of like, that you can cling on to. You need to find anything that you can all just unite under and believe in and just go with. And I think that's one of the things that we had a really hard time with. And I think that's one of the reasons for our, you know, poor performance with Navi, that we never really found something. We didn't find this common ground where everyone felt very comfortable, and it showed. And so that's what I think that HR kind of need to do if they want to have a good chance.
Do you think, like, you know, we talk about sometimes with players, you know, looking back at games like, man, I wish we'd won this game, you know, with like Red or something, we'd be, you know, in a different position. Do you think there's an aspect of that for coaching? Like, man, I wish I had prepped a little bit more for my team,
for sure,
or I had.
Sure. For sure, yeah. I can remember multiple different games where I wish. It's a very hard balance too, because sometimes you need to push for something, and sometimes you need to know when not to push. Because what you can't do is you can't put heads in people's thoughts. You can't put thoughts in people's heads that they can't kind of follow through on. Even if it's a good idea, if they don't really fully understand your idea, or if they don't fully understand what you want to do, if they actually don't get it on their own level, then it's too hard. Then you can't push for that idea. So you need to know when to push for an idea. You need to know when to not do it. And sometimes I felt like, yeah, okay, maybe I should have pushed harder. Maybe I should have been more, you know, firm on what I thought, you know, I should do. And yeah, absolutely. I feel it's the same kind of as with playing. You can regret things and stuff like that.
Interesting. So you actually, so there is not, it's not just player regret. Coaches have an entirely different breed of it. But let's not get too sidetracked, because there is so much more to be discussed. We talked about the elimination on one side of the bracket. Fnatic and Infamous kind of fall into the same category over in Group A. They've still got games to play. Fnatic, however, actually no, saying that, I was just trying to remember who. Okay, Empire. Empire had 16. They played all of their games, and so they just kind of sit back, relax, and we'll have a chance for that main event. But outside of that, we got Infamous, we've got Fnatic, and we have already kind of discussed their shortcomings in towards Group A. Quinn, if you talk a little bit about Infamous or Fnatic, who do you believe is going to be keeping their head above water in Group A?
I think Infamous will end up making it out, actually. A team that I think most people expected coming in to almost definitely be taking the last place slot out. But I think Fnatic have shown up not at their best. And I think Infamous, they've taken a couple games, you know, they took a game off of Secret. Yeah. You know, they haven't looked that bad in some of these games. I think they've had some draft issues here and there. But I think they will end up making it into the lower bracket. And
that's kind of just a step in the right direction. You make main event, that's like, okay, tick that box, and then you'll put your back against the wall, as we've spoken to PyCat about before.
We saw at the Kiev Major, we saw the SG.
Yeah.
You know, we see those South American teams on the main stage.
South America has had a great history with these single elimination games.
Yeah.
If you remember Kiev Major, best of 3 SG Esports against. Yeah, exactly. And they win that. They were one Roche fight away from getting top 4. They were one Roche fight away from getting top 4. And then on top of that, before that even happened, at the Frankfurt Major, we had what was the team?
Unknown.
Team Unknown. They took out IG in a best of 1.
Yeah.
So for Infamous, I think they're going to look at that historic date and say, South American teams have consistently been able to surprise in these positions. They've been able to place a lot higher than people expect. So for them, I think they're going to be able to do it. Whereas Fnatic, man, this is, especially for some of these guys, QO, he got top 6 at every single Valve event that he's played in. And to finish like this, it's got to be so disappointing.
I mean, you know, sometimes you swing and you miss, but it's not going to be any more easy to process, is it? We have avoided the Fnatic discussion, but I mean, they're not necessarily entirely out of this one. They're kind of crossing their fingers and toes for other people to underperform, of course. but that is the reality that Fnatic are living in. Execration is another name I'm going to throw at you while we're talking about the kind of the bottom half of the standings back over towards Group B. Now, their aspirations, they have to win both of their games versus OG, and that secures just lower bracket. Like, that's just like, okay, doesn't matter what anyone else does, you're safe. And so that's kind of the luxury, right? We talked about this, Blitz. It's entirely in their hands. They know, win 2, we're safe.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good position to be in, just because when you talk to some of these players, something that Quinn brought up earlier that I really liked is they are wringing their hands. They're thinking, they're running through the scenarios. There's so many different scenarios. Yeah. Imagine a team like DC, they've got Bulba. Can you imagine? All he's doing, I talked to him yesterday, all he's doing is like, okay, so what needs to happen? And his manager had to tell him like 6 different times, if this happens, and this happens, and this weird scenario happens, and we win these 2 games, and these guys lose their game, it doesn't feel good. Whereas if you get to control the fate in your hands, at least you get to say, okay, we either did or we didn't. It's all entirely on us. That feels so much better as a player, I think. Did you guys see that video with Slacks put out about Bulba? Did any of you catch that?
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, it's really interesting. Just showing that, like, yeah, despite all of the kind of the dank memes surrounding Bulba and some of it sometimes is his faults, but also he just shows that this guy. There's a reason this guy is in all of these legendary lineups at some point or another, and we'll get to see more from him. Where does he fall in your kind of your player categories? Kat, do you have a lot of admiration for what Bulba's capable of?
I mean, he coached EG to winning TI5, right?
Yeah.
So the guy has a very high understanding of the game. I think sometimes he's had a hard time kind of getting that out into the game.
Sure.
And I feel personally like this support role has suited him a bit better than 3. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it kind of depends on how the meta is shaped and how his role fits into the game. But I think generally Bulba likes to be on a role where he can control the pace of the game, where he can make calls early and get things done. So I think for how the game is now, I think him being on a 4 suits him quite well, because he can tell people, hey, let's go kill this guy, or take this tower, because that's the kind of role I think he plays in a team.
And I mean, you know Bulba very well, Will. Does that sound about right? Position 4? Is that where he's going to thrive most?
Yeah. You want to know my first memory of Bulba?
Hit me.
A meeting in real life. It was TI2.
Yeah.
It was PyCat probably remembers this very vividly. It was right after his match versus Ferrari. It was the TA versus Invoker match that he just got bodied in. Like, Bulba, there was this NA thread. It was like, what is the biggest embarrassment of 2012? And it was Bulba versus Ferrari TA mid. And all he's doing is he's refreshing the Gosu Gamers comments so that he can see what they're saying about him. And so I noticed this guy instantly. He's like, this is a guy who gets affected by what others think. For sure. He's the kind of guy that this is the first thing he does. He's like, dude, were they kind to me? Like, sometimes we'll mess with him and we'll say, like,
and I mean,
should have heard what the Spanish caster
said. I think you have to know the magnitude of that matchup. That is the biggest mid stomp in TI history, right?
That was,
I think, still to this date, no one has ever.
But he's still here playing.
Yes, he is. So
and he's looking
Ferrari's
at the comments.
Not.
Ferrari's not.
He's not anymore.
Resilient.
That's the thing.
He's very resilient, Bulba.
Because this year, the biggest change was, in the past, yes, he would do stuff like that. But nowadays, this is a different kind of Bulba for me. Because in the past, if he got behind in a series, it was done mentally. But if you imagine where they came from in this environment, remember, they were in the qualifiers were hard for them, especially the Kiev major one. They were always consistently down a game, but they managed to come back. They started so low in this recent TI qualifiers. This team, they blew that huge lead to OG, but they still managed to pick up wins after that. I think this is a different kind of squad.
And just, talking of the qualifiers, I mean, Quinn, you competed in the qualifiers, were very close yourself, but I'm kind of, in a weird, bittersweet way, glad we get to pick your brain on the panel as well. But people regarded that as one of the most competitive qualifiers from North American region. Can you kind of recap us in kind of the twists and turns of those qualifiers, or is that a bit of a challenge now?
Yeah, I think it was very close. I think people expected, DC and NP and Planet to do very well, and I think DC underperformed and Planet underperformed, and we kind of overperformed. And so there was a lot of like unexpected teams having results that weren't. It wasn't what people expected. It's a little bit reminiscent of of TI currently, with DC a little bit overperforming, Cloud9 underperforming. You see some of these any teams, they can be pretty volatile at times.
I mean, and the scene in general, I think that it's going up and up. You're rising to the top of that scene now. You're getting to go ahead and try and battle versus the best. Do you think there's only good things to come from the North American Dota scene?
I think so. I think NA Dota is probably the best it's ever been. The qualifier for NA has never been as close as it was this year.
I mean, Will, you can testify to that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Planet didn't underperform. We got 3 out of 6 members here at TI. Like,
can I ask you though, Will? 'Cause
2 out of 5.
2 out of I'm here at the panel. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I gotta ask you though, because DC was like expected to go, you know, bottom 16 or, you know, bottom 12 at TI6. And I got them to top 2, and I, you know, kind of handed this team over, and then you got this top 2 TI team and didn't take them to the next one. So what happened?
There were some
The gloves are off.
extenuating factors that
Drink.
made this run very challenging for us, but maybe the expectations, I don't know. Man,
What have you done?
dude, this killed my soul. That's the first thing I thought of
Was it
when we
actually?
lost.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm gonna be the first person that gets blamed. I was like, this sucks so much.
Did you refresh the Reddit tab?
Yeah, I
you
was like,
sit there like-
did Blitz ruin Planet Odd? I was like, oh, this is so rough.
Jeez.
Trust me, I put that on myself every single day, Pycat. All they did was talk about how good of a coach you were.
Oh, come on.
But I mean, it sounds like people are always forgetting that the players are human beings as well. It's not as simple as just saying like they are always going to play at exactly this level, at exactly this time. Things change, people change, and
Everything is very circumstantial,
Abso-
I think.
absolutely.
And there are always a lot of factors that you kind of can't take into account. That, I mean, there are so many things around this game that happens.
Right.
Just how people feel on a certain day, you know, it's a lot about momentum and mood, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't align for you, and then
And in that same thread, and kind of referring back to what we talked about before, here's a tough one. Do you think the existence of social media, the Reddit threads we keep referring back to, all of that is only going to kind of like be a hindrance for players when they're playing live? Like, as in, do you think there are some players that will be, you know, we talk about Bulba and how emotional he is. If someone's going to tweet him saying, you know, I hope you suck today, as a very light example, do you think that's going to make, you know, that's going to add extra pressure? There are players that are affected by that, Will?
Oh, for sure. And there are some people that really get affected by that, and they have to just completely
cut
get off of it. And there are some people that love it. Like, my favorite example that I ever tell people is Sumail. You remember that tweet he made about Shiki at MLG Worlds when they played? He's like, he made this tweet. He's like, I can't believe I lost to Shiki. He's so bad. Like, if you're going to make a statement like that, you better show up. Like, you better stomp this guy the next time you play him. You better just delete him from the surf. Because if you make a comment like that and you don't back it up, oh, you look so bad.
Yeah.
But that shows you the kind of confidence he has. He's like, this is how I feel. I know I'm better than this guy. I know I'm so much better than this guy. How did I lose mid? That's the kind of pressure he puts on himself, and some people just simply can't deal with it. But for the most part, I think Dota's going in the right direction, and so people are going to talk of players like they are stars that they are in traditional sports in that sense. And you know, when I watch a lot of basketball, I'm also that guy on the NBA subreddit flaming players. Like, I hope they never read that.
It exists. It really does. I mean, okay, here, kind of in the same vein for you, Quinn. You know, because you are so emotionally invested in the game, it can be, you know, processing the loss, processing the trash talk, whatever. It's very much a reality for you and for a lot of us here and on the stage tomorrow, or excuse me, the day after. Have you put much thought into how you can get better at that, or is it just cold turkey? Don't look at it.
I think not looking at it is an option, but I think trying to look at it as objectively as possible and thinking about, is any of this criticism valid? Can I learn from any of this stuff? But I think the most important thing is, like, you know, knowing who your friends are and the people that know you, and, you know, if you have questions about, you know, your Dota play or who you are and stuff like that, you don't let all this stuff like get to your head and stuff and ruin your play, because I think, you know, some of this Reddit stuff, like let's say, like with the Bulba thing, like it can affect you at times and makes your play worse and stuff like that.
And that's just like, I don't know what the word is. It's just it grows exponentially. Then at that point, right? You're playing bad because people are saying you're bad, which then means they're saying you're bad.
Spiral.
It's downward spiral. Thank you. That's the badger. And we've talked a lot about these players. We've talked about what this means. We've talked about the circumstances by which they have to secure themselves, not either upper bracket or even just continuing to play at TI. These are your 4 games. This is the 4 that we'll be starting with as we continue to go ahead and get all of these games done. 18 teams, we will have just 16 by the end of today. That is the reality we live in. Newbee will be starting versus Virtus Pro on stream 1. You'll have OG versus Execration over on stream 2. C9DC on 3. And you get IG versus HR. And now all of those games matter. So, you know, get a friend, pull him into the room, tell him he has to watch 2 streams. You have to watch the other 2. And, you know, just try and go on this, well, let's recap exactly what all those games mean. I tried to write it all down. Wish me luck. Have you got it in your head, Pycat?
Best of luck.
I'd love that.
I think Newbee versus VP, right?
Yes.
If I'm remembering this correctly, if
they
they
have
tie,
to 2-0 them.
Yeah, well, Newbee versus VP, if they tie, if these teams start taking games, it's going to be real tough for both DC and OG to advance. I think I'm not sure what their current score is, but I think if these teams get almost any more points, I think those guys are going to start being in a lot of trouble. So I think if you're DC, I think you want this to be a 2-0 for, you know, either team, and then you want the team that loses to keep losing, and then the other team to keep winning.
So this, just to kind of put it in the simplest terms possible, if they want to go in upper bracket, Newbee and Virtus Pro have to win both here. You have to 2-0 your opponent if you want to go in upper bracket. They split the series. We're into tiebreakers. We're into some chaos. 2-0, and we will have a very clear upper bracket for them. Still, Virtus Pro, high hopes from the CIS region are about to clash with China. It's Newbee on the other side. Let's find out how this one goes down as we kick off our final day of the International 7 groups.
What an amazing and knowledgeable panel, Cinderin. They must have said something really great. We're here to cast Newbee versus Virtus Pro, game number 1 of our final day of the TI7 group stages. Of course, I'm Toby1 here with Sind. And we're already underway, man, and we have ourselves an IO, a hero to slip through the first phase today.
Yeah, I actually think that's the first time we're going to cast this hero in any of our games in the tournaments.
Yep, we haven't had him yet.
It's been banned in a lot of the games, and in a lot of the games it was just ignored as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in action for VP. Keep in mind, this is a really important game. These two teams are tied for second in their group, so there's a lot at stake here. More or less, if it's a 2-0, the team that gets that is, I think, secured top 4, or at least very, very close. They would need to win one more game to be 100% secured in that case. So expecting both teams to bring out some of their best strategies here. This is a very valuable game.
Yeah, and, I'm looking forward to it, especially, like you say, best strategies. It seems Newbee's taking a page out of some other people's books as well. First phasing up the Passage, going with the puck as well. So everyone right now is not touching the ground. It is the useless leg strategy from both sides.
Yeah. Flying heroes on a guy who doesn't even have limbs. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so ban-wise, this is pretty straightforward, I think. Newbee going to ban the Darkseer against VP. I think that's the team that will be respect banned the most Darkseers against. Pasha's Darkseer has been very impressive, especially in the Kiev Major. The Night Stalker is the most banned hero of the tournament so far, not too surprising either. And VP will ban the Lich and Sand King. Lich has been getting a lot of love, a lot more than I thought it would. Here at TI7. It's been first phase picked a lot. Just a good opening pick that can give you a start in their lane.
Yeah, it seems to also be that dual offlane. We were talking about it yesterday with the way LGD was drafting with the Mag as well as the next Assassin. You just start the lane in a way where you can't really contest someone's offlane. It's just too strong. Unless you commit too many resources, then it frees up the mid, which we've also seen becoming a dual lane during TI.
Yeah, there's generally... in a lot of the games, there's 2-on-2s in mid in the start, like, or pseudo 2-on-2s. The position 4s are like running into mid and putting some pressure there, and then moving around, getting bounty runes and runes after, of course. So
kind of surprising to the one hero who normally appears in that mid lane doing that is the Nyx Assassin, who hasn't been banned or picked in this draft so far. And that's against a Batrider who's still in the pool. I'm wondering if Newbee actually have space for it in that draft.
They do, I think. They could definitely pick that. I don't know if Newbee want to play this Visage as a 4 or a 5, but I don't think it's a core. I think Faith really likes this as a 5-position hero.
We're not mooging it up and having him like go Arteezy style?
I mean, they could, but I'm not sure if that's the way Newbee want to play it. The nice thing about picking it here is that the options are open, so they can wait and see what's going to happen. I like the Nyx pick. I think it's good against both the Batrider and the IO, so could be a great choice here for Newbee. We'll see if they do choose to grab it. There we go. Very nice. And well, VP did ban out the Drow, which I think was the most obvious ban of the entire draft when the enemy team starts with these two. And then they banned the Lifestealer, a carry that Mugi has been playing very well, and that also has a great matchup against the Bat. So not too surprising there. Newbee with the Sven and DP bans, both of them great pairings with IO that VP like. So what IO heroes do VP have left that they like? They have Ursa still, which could be very interesting here. They're gonna go for their support first though, the Disruptor for solo. It's always Lil playing the IO, never solo.
Yeah, and it's always solo playing the Disruptor.
Yep. I think we might have seen Lil play it once or twice, but it's very rare that it goes to Lil. It's mainly their 5 position. Solo's best supports, I think, are probably Ogre and Disruptor. Those are at least 2 of his best, for sure. We've been seeing a decent amount of both from him recently.
So they've got the Initiation, they've got the Global. You could think about the combination with the IO. They may just go for Sustain as well. Maybe going back into something which is... I don't know how much he's really appeared in this competition, but the Chaos Knight's another combination with the IO.
That could work. I think it's not the easiest CK game. All 3 opponents have something that has AoE control. There's familiar drops, there's the coil and all the nukes from Puck, and Nyx has Carapace and his stun. So I don't think it's the best CK game, but depending on what the cores are, it could turn out really good. I think that's also what VP are just thinking here. You know what, we have IO, we can buff up whatever good core we want. We want to pick it as late as possible to get information about our matchup. Here's Mugi's hero. I think it's a pretty good pick here. Looks like VP were expecting it. At least we're very quick to pick this Dragon Knight. The Weaver from Mugi was played yesterday, and he went out of control. I think it was against Hellraisers. Played it on the safe lane carry role. Great hero against Bat Rider and Wisp. And Disruptor, I think.
They seem to be lacking, though, like a real big frontliner. Obviously, the Visage can be very, very tanky once he's got that cloak up and running. And the Nyx Assassin's very difficult to kill as well. In fact, most like Puck and Weaver are more dodge from ganks and attacks. But who's your frontliner? Like, who does Newbee put in that front to push high ground?
They have a couple of options when it comes to KP's hero pool. I think it could also be an offlane Puck for him, and then they get SC something else in mid.
Okay.
That has a good matchup against Dragon Knight. I'm not quite sure where Newbee are going with this, but I think it's a fair point that their lineup is a little bit fragile overall. So getting someone to go in front, either something like, we know KP likes to play Tidehunter, it's one of his best heroes. It's maybe not the best Tide game ever, but it could be a thing if the VP carry doesn't have the best matchup. Like if VP are going Ursa, I'll almost guarantee you they don't pick Tide, for example. Oh, they banned it themselves. Interesting. Okay, they were worried about the Ursa into Dragon Knight matchup in mid, which is a very Ursa favorite lane. Other heroes that come to mind that fit that lane well are Razor and Timbersaw that Newbee could be looking toward. Both of them can actually frontline as well, so that'd be nice. I think SC's Timber is pretty good the way I remember, but
Timber might be a little bit problematic though against the Disruptor.
It's playable.
That would be the only issue.
It's definitely playable if you work around it in the right ways. You can get like a Yule Scepter against Static Storm, then you outlast more than half of it. You could get just a standard build-up with the pipe, or just a hood into Bloodstone. Actually makes you very tanky against this VP lineup that's currently really magic heavy. Bat Rider is all magic. Dragon Knight for the first decent amount of the game is very magic centric, and Disruptor has nothing else either. IO the same. So we'll see if this is a hard physical damage dealer VP put on their carry. It could be different. Maybe they look towards something like a Phantom Assassin for Ramses actually. I think it's good against the Visage. It is good against the Weaver if they land a stun from Dragon Knight, for example. Then they have the burst to bring him down very quickly. Saw some success yesterday as well. PA played by LGD in 2 or 3 games. They played it with Mag though, but it was really good in those games.
At least allow them to close the distance as well. Right now, like unless it's Glimpse or Lasso, they're not going to hold a target in place.
No.
And against a Weaver, that's one of the critical things to make sure he cannot run away. He can't just easily time-lapse out of a fight.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of space creators around him. Like if you got Bird stunning you up, you got Nyx Assassin causing you issues in the back lines. You got Puck with his silencers and Dream Coil. Mugi should have a lot of space to move in these fights unless he gets initiated on. Maybe we get out Tiny finally.
We haven't really had any Bristleback this tournament, I think, which is interesting. But I don't know if this is that good of a Bristle game. I feel like Visage is a pretty good matchup, but it's they have to assume right now that it's a support for Faith, I think. That's the absolutely most likely here.
Yeah.
Bristle against Weaver is also a bit so-so. It's just, you know, I'm just thinking what combinations have VP run in the past with this IO that have been good. And a lot of them are out. Like, they banned the Ursa themselves. The Sven is out. Let's see what it is. It's going to be the Chaos Knight. So
Alright.
they do go for that. I think it's still okay. There might have been a better pick in the pool, but that is an instant Medusa counter pick from Newbee, and that is a really good pick this game, I think, for SC. So good against Dragon Knight, good against the Chaos Knight especially. That's the reason they're taking it. SC looks happy.
Yeah.
It's like, nice, we didn't random Alchemist. Good job, boys. Let's go.
we have ourselves a fantastic draft. It was the one thing which Newbee didn't have something like to deal with the Chaos Knight, which was the clearance, and throwing in SC now on that Medusa, they've got it. And you can tank that initial attack as well. Very difficult to kill off heroes. Maybe the damage output is going to be a little bit low until Mugi and SC get items. That would be my only concern from the Newbee lineup.
Yeah, their physical component is not that strong, but their spell damage is still really high. Even just like when you run it, it's one of the boons of running an offlane Puck is that just with levels, even if you don't have the best farm, Puck actually deals a lot of damage pretty much every game. If he can get a blink dagger, when you play offlane Puck, you generally don't go Veil. I think it's too greedy. Just get the blink. Then 15 to 20 minutes in, if that's when you get your blink, if you have a hard game, you start outputting a lot. Then they also have, obviously, the Nyx support is one of the higher damage supports, and Visage is probably the highest almost in this patch. So I think damage will not be the biggest problem for Newbee, actually. Let's look at some predictions here.
Yeah, we could do that quickly for people. Player with the longest kill streak.
I'm feeling the Medusa here. Actually, I think he's gonna have the best game out of anyone. It's hard to call actually.
I'm feeling the Weaver in this
There's
game.
many heroes that could. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah,
First triple kill.
I'm also thinking the Weaver. I think he's gonna play it around. The CK is probably the better one to go
I
for.
think I'm taking CK. He's gonna have one good team fight where he really gets things going.
Savage.
Oh, Solo's in a really interesting position here in his disruptor, by the way. Just a side note while we're doing the important predictions.
Yeah.
First tower. I'm gonna go with
It's the time of destruction.
11 to 14. It might actually be pretty late this game.
You've got a DK
there's
though,
29
so
mid.
it should be 8 to 11 with a DK
I
up.
think Medusa will defend it though. I'm gonna go 11 to 14. Last player to be killed. That's the first death of the last player who dies, not the last kill of the game.
Yeah. This is always a rando.
Yeah, that's pretty random. I'll do Medusa. We'll see.
Yeah, Medusa is the safe pick for that one. All right, and focus on our lanes. Pasha is all the way down south. He's going to be doing the creep skipping, and Mookie and Faith will have to try and stop him, so they're going to run the safe lane with the Visage as well as the Weaver. Solo looking for his Courier snipe with the Observer Ward down. He might actually get this too. The Courier, in fact, he's guaranteed got it. The Tangos on the Courier are lost. Sniped in mid, so SC won't have that extra regeneration to battle against no one who's playing his DK in mid. Karka's looking to do exactly the same thing, smoked up behind the towers in the mid lane. And, well, he can't really harass the mid while he's sitting here. He's taking too long for this Courier, who's only now just making his little trek out.
This is a really good start for the mid lane for VP. Losing these tangos might not seem like the biggest deal, but when you're playing 2 tangos and there's a disruptor coming in to harass, you're gonna struggle. And no one's gonna have a way better time. Kaka and Solo laying into each other here.
The bottle is already done for no one. Like, because he was rushing that. You got both a salve as well as the bottle.
Oh,
it's actually Lil who buys it.
Yeah. But the bottle for Dragon Knight isn't far away either. He needs 200 gold, so
I'm wondering at that point if you actually want to expend the bottle charges on no one and just completely outwin the mid lane, send the Courier back. Lil doesn't need it at the moment.
I think currently he's going to focus on making sure Ramses has a good laning stage. The Puck matchup versus CK is actually very good for Puck because once you get phase shift, you can avoid both of Chaos Knight's spells with good timing. If it's a strict one-on-one, I think this is actually a Puck-favored lane. Fairly hard, so we'll need a little bit of help here against KP's Puck. All in all, that's how Lil has started out. You see him sustaining Ramses nicely, getting good CS, and he is kind of free to leave soon, I think, when Ramses has a little bit more here.
CS-wise is actually currently going the way of no one. 12-6 in the mid against the 5-for-2 of SC. But it's the fact that he's still the highest CSer on the board, like across the board as well.
Yeah, that initial harass from Disruptor can't be overstated how important that was. That was really really massive for the outcome of this mid lane already when you're tripling up like this. Currently has a double wave more or less running into the tower here, no one as well, so there's going to be more CS lost for SC.
Get better with that 62 points of damage.
I just got breathe fired. Yeah, good luck.
Kaka has to try and zone him out, but no one's out of mana. Like, he's fine. Like, he'll only bottle up when he has to use his breathe fire, which is right now again. Underneath the tower, bottom lane, Pasha in trouble, trying to get away, the Soul Assumption, he's going to get the Weaver bug off him, the Swarm, it does do damage, and I don't know if he's going to kill it in time, he doesn't! He'll die on the cliffside, Mugi was circling around him as the Weaver. So the first off-lane kill, VP were attempting to get KP down a while ago, just burning off Ramsey's initiation. Doesn't work, but for Newbee, it does work against Pasha.
Solo trying for the courier again. They almost send it out as a ground courier, and then he would have killed it a second time. But this time it's too tanky. Disruptor needs to hit this courier 5 times. It's funny to see Solo even trying this, like straight disrespect to your point. How little attention are you guys paying in your mid?
Hey, at least he's keeping the Nyx Assassin there all the time. Kaka probably was looking to rotate down the bottom lane to kill off Pasha. He's gone for a 1-1 in...
Oh, Pasha could be in trouble. Oh, he got away. Okay.
Yeah.
If he gets grave chilled here, this can very quickly... It can get nasty very quickly here. He's playing on the edge here with his Bat Rider. He wants to try to steal the stack that's been made by Newbee. That's one of the things that sometimes teams won't do. Stack their big camp in the safe lane when they're facing Bat Rider, just because of how easily Bat Rider can try to snatch that. Oh, he's actually going in here a bit against Faith. This is danger. No, there's no care at this point, so I think he's going to be okay. And this is the exact thing, right? Like, now he's going to fly in circles here. Got a lot of nice experience. Probably he even stacked the camp himself. Very nice timing by Pasha here. And this is going to reward him quite a bit. Actually, he didn't have enough damage.
Yeah, his Firefly just wore off. He has a sticky napalm up, but that's just a lot of low heroes. And look at Kaka's positioning too. Rotates around the back, says hello to Pasha. Just stole Pasha's bounty rune.
Yep, now he's going to go get his own as well. And yeah, this camp is actually going to heal up to full because there's a big Satyr Tormentor in it. And the 2 Centaur courses that spawn makes it difficult for Pasha to farm that camp with his Bat Rider. So a little bit of bad luck, I guess, on the RNG on the spawn there. Else he might have been able to clear out at least a bit more of it. So what's happening elsewhere? So Solo has moved to the top lane and has started pulling. He's very low level because of all that harass in mid, but it was well worth it, getting the courier snipe and winning his mid lane for no one. Now he's currently sitting on just level 2 with his Disruptor 5 minutes in, and he needs to pull to get toward that 6, which is really when Disruptor starts becoming a scary hero. KP didn't make it too easy for him, though.
KP's actually been having a pretty damn good time on that off lane. Able to find net worth, able to find experience. And more importantly, like, he's not feeding in towards Ramses. Ramses is one of these players who is so good on the safe lane. He's Mr. Consistency all the time, except normally he's able to find a kill. And you're like, okay, how the hell do you even
it is scary right
that?
now. That's a lot of heroes.
SC, yeah, 4 heroes right on top of him. The shields won't protect him anymore until maybe a little of extra help. Kaka creates space. Mugi diving over to kill off the IO, taking away that regeneration. Pasha and no one focusing in to Kaka underneath the tower. Mugi's not done just yet, however, chasing Solo into the Radiant jungle. He's got a decent run to go, but luckily Shikuchi, high movement speed, and Solo cannot escape from that. Maybe in the trees. No, not gonna happen.
That would be the truth of the century if he got out without boots there. What are you supposed to do?
Absolutely nothing.
So that was a 2 for 2, I believe, right? Was it only a 2 for... No, it was 2 for 2.
It was 2 for 2. It was Io Disruptor for Medusa and Nyx.
Yeah, so it sounds good on paper for Virtus Pro, but they did use a Dragon form that didn't really do any tower damage.
And they're going to lose more as well. Solo's getting ganked up. KP as well as Kaka teaming up together. Wasn't the cleanest kill. Kaka missed his Impale, and Ramses will maybe punish this in time. Yeah, with Pasha here, he definitely will.
Nice ward placement there just in the end by Nyx, though. I don't think VP would have realized that he got that ward out just before he died. He barely even turned his hero to place that, so this ward he just put in might have full duration. Nice move in the heat of the moment just to get that ward down from Kaka. And now the pressure begins on bottom, so this mid tower is going to be very important in this game, and that's one of the interesting things about this Medusa versus Dragon Knight matchup, is that one of DK's contributions to the game that's very important is taking that tower, but it's so hard to do against Medusa. you really need to make sure you kill Medusa first and overwhelm her and then take that tower, and it's not easy. You saw that attempt VP did before with 4 heroes, and they still got, what was that, 200 damage in total on the tower, which was all by the siege creep.
Yeah.
So it won't be too easy for no one to get that done.
Yeah, Newbee turned it into a team fight more than anything else.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about, like the fact that no one takes so much damage and is losing so much mana as well every time SC throws out that Mystic Snake. Mugi, he's very aggressive. No, it's been a while since I've seen a Weaver diving underneath tier 1 towers, and Eternal Envy's not even in this game. Like, so aggressive under, forcing glimpses out very early on, so Disruptor didn't have it for that second time he went for the dive.
It's just it's a very good Weaver game against those 3 heroes. Disruptor, Io, and Bat Rider don't have the best tools. Later on, Bat will be annoying when he gets the Blink 4 staff with Lasso, but from a laning stage perspective, Mugi knows very well what his limits are. And when you play against VP, putting pressure on them is a very good approach to the game, because else they're going to do it to you. VP is one of those faster-paced teams that want to make the moves, and against them, I think a good offense is the best defense in a lot of cases here. And Newbee are definitely doing what they can. They haven't just been sitting around. They've been moving a lot with their supports. They've been pressuring with their Weaver. And I guess the passive hero they have is Medusa, but I mean, how else are you going to play this hero, really?
All she's going to do is make sure DK has to stay in the mid lane. It almost feels like the opposite way you look at this mid matchup. The DK is meant to be the one where you want to see the mid rotate off so the DK takes the tower. In this case, if the DK rotates off, SC will more than likely just force into the tower and do considerable amounts of damage.
For sure.
Mugi's going to do the same thing on bottom lane. He's got that early Blight Stone combining it with the treads. The tier 1 tower on bottom lane's already taken chip damage. It's Newbee who are threatening buildings and not the opposite way around. And like, how do you get around that? You want to burn Phantasm? Ramsey just did that to try and attack the top lane, but Kaka is already here. So is KP. They're farming up the small camps behind the tower, and they're still keeping the creep wave away from the tower.
Yeah, VP can't seem to do any big structural damage right now, so I think what they're just going to look for is getting levels on their supports, and they really need it. Both of these supports, this is very uncharacteristic for Virtus Pro. Their supports are both very low level.
Yeah, they're both level 3 compared to the 5 and 4 of Newbee.
Faith is going to crack his 6 in a moment, and VP kind of need 2 tomes right now.
They're rotating. Newbee are going to try and gank up on the top lane, smoke maneuver. Kaka and Mugi together. KP has the Dream Coil, which is probably going to make this work. Ramses has no Phantasm. He burnt it before, and with the orb up, well, it won't be able to connect. KP will get the follow-up silence, and the stun. It connects onto the Dragon Knight as well, but Lil arrives in time, connects himself up with Ramses, giving the much-needed heal and recovery. KP can't even get out. The glimpse is perfect from Solo.
Oh, he's going to get a kill.
Wow. Okay, moment. Sorry, misclick. I don't know if that's a misclick. I'm sorry, Lil. I didn't mean to kill you. But Ramsey gets the revenge, and Puck goes down underneath the tower.
If that was an NA pub, that was not a mistake. That's for sure. That's one of those moments. Oh, you guys 4 and 2 to us, or 4 and 3 or whatever, and you were owning us in that fight, and I just got that kill. You're just missing the question mark in all chat, and then you got the full NA starter kit.
What he really meant to do was use chat wheel to It's a Disaster.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that was a nice play under pressure here from KP. At the end of the day, though, I don't know if Newbee should try to go for these kind of plays onto the CK. They have to know that the IO is on backup or can at least TP in an assist. They need more bursts to bring down Ramsey's Chaos Knight in these situations. You have to probably bring the Visage as well, or at least send up the birds for that gank.
Well, he's only just picked up the birds on the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have that option at the time. I just think that kill was very optimistic, and they got punished for it.
Actually sent the birds into mid lane, passing past no one.
And these CS values of VP are so high. Both the Dragon Knight and
the CK
Chaos Knight are getting very high farm. It's rare that you see 2 heroes having above 80 at 10 minutes or 11 minutes. It's generally one of them, like either the Shadow Fiend mid who's very farm.
Dream Call, they're going again onto Ramses. This time, as you asked him, man, bring in the birds. Phantasm comes off. The birds make a break for the tree line. Mugi also hiding there. The Scarab Swarm just missing on the Puck.
They didn't think they could get a kill here at all. They're
just baiting out Phantasm.
They're forcing rotations. That was not a kill. I think in their mind they were just like, okay, we're gonna go on him, we're gonna force rotation, then we're gonna back out instantly. It looked like they were 100% on the same page. The moment there was any response, both of them just backed out fully. And it's good for them to force this IO around, and especially force the Phantasm, like you said. It's just draining these VP key cooldowns that allow them to play aggressively. It's just buying space on the map for their own heroes to progress their game plan.
Because they got the Familiars also up on top, Ramses is leaving. He's headed towards Faith in the mid lane. No one's up here to defend top lane. Newbee will take this tower.
Oh.
Nothing is actually here to stop it, so they're giving up their safe lane tier 1 tower for no trade-off just yet. Looking for kills. SC's abandoned the mid lane, giving it to Faith because he was busy farming up Ancients. Actually has himself a nice stack to the north part of the tier 1 tower in mid.
Kaka is looking for his level 6 now. Oh, this is a pretty strong invasion here from VP. They're not really going to find anything, though. They're just going for that bottom tier 1, safeguarding it with 5 heroes, more or less.
The Familiars saw solo. They were chasing around. Ramses had to reality rift one in. And does it make it over the trees? It does not.
Oh, he didn't resummon, actually.
No, he did not. He held on to him.
He's holding on to 1. This trade is pretty good for Newbee overall. They know they're going to lose this tower to the Dragon Knight Dragon form, so they're getting half a tier 2 up top. Mugi is on that. And Disruptor is just tier 2. Soak up some experience. So, Nyx just found his level 6. This is when Solo's going to die, apparently. That was pretty quick use of that. See ya. And they're going to probably think about keeping up the pressure up here now. They should know that Relocate is not available if they've kept track of Lil's level progression.
They should know that, I suppose it's still only a level 1 Phantasm. They're not going to really be that scared by it.
Just has to TP up.
Yeah.
In the fog, and they're probably just going to back out here.
Yeah.
So again, Newbee forcing these rotations. Again, good pressure from them. It's creating a lot of space for Medusa, who, by the way, is going for a very good build in this game. So there's been this arising trend. Wait a second, we should look at top now. Ramses.
Yeah, Dream called up, gonna try and Phantasm his way out of it. The Scarab Swarm's gonna be able to connect. So does the stun onto Kaka, and the crit from Ramses. I think Kaka was ready for that much damage on him. KP doing his TP out. Pasha, he started the lasso, but it did not connect. KP barely making it out by the skin of his teeth.
So VP got a kill on the Nyx, but they rotated 3 heroes and used Phantasm, and I think Newbee are fine with this. Again, it's like the same type of play that we're seeing over and over here, and I think VP are tired of it. Now they want to make their own. If they find SC here, that would be a really big kill.
Yeah,
so
they're actually surrounding him. Pasha, they do actually have a little bit of an early warning system with Pasha running in underneath Kaka's Vendetta. And Pasha, well, he wants to go for more, but right now he's stoned. SC and Kaka can just beat the crap out of him and get a kill. That was meant to go the other way. They do still, however, pick up KP. VP looking to keep the pressure on. SC underneath his own shrine has already been burnt. Kaka, he's got another stun available, can actually hit 3, potentially 4. Solo on the back lines, dying to the swarm. And Mugi, he's now going to join the fray. Lil into the tree lines. The tower's going to be killing him off. Faith now, he's the one under pressure. A 2-second stun is long enough to kill him down. And no one, the pressure from Mugi turns his attention towards ZK on the run, but 2 very, very tanky heroes. They'll need another stun, another control, and they don't have it in range. So Newbee break off the fight after Virtus.pro's very aggressive attack in.
SC was playing that fight very well, I think, on the Medusa. He was the one getting gone on, kept his cool. He had a really good Mystic Snake out that gave him full mana during the Static Storm, and just was not a kill for VP. They couldn't bring him down simply. Got out of there alive. So I wanted to point out his item build here. He's gone for the Yasha that we often see Medusas go for, and then a lot of the times there's this build with Linken's Manta that I personally am not a fan of at all. I really like his build this game. He's going to go for the Aghanim Scepter, and the reason he's doing this is how good it is against CK. What the Aghanim Scepter on Medusa does is one of the newest ags in the game. Let's see.
Yeah, found KP, but he got the orb off just as the initiation was happening from Ramses, so had a place to jaunt to.
He's getting it for the CK. So this Mystic Snake Aghanim Scepter upgrade will let the Mystic Snake petrify as well against those illusions. That is incredibly powerful. As I do believe it just one-shots them as this with the same rules as Stone Gaze. I think the Petrify just kills illusions off, unless I'm mistaken. I haven't really seen this in play, but I remember the theory crafting when it came out that was going to be a really good counter to illusion-based heroes.
Well, you get to watch the team fight, and then we'll have
we'll see if
a
I
definite
remember
answer.
it right. It's not something you see every day. It has been fairly common in mainly the Chinese scene. In their competitive games, there's been a lot of Medusas played compared to the Western scenes, where the hero is way less popular. So this is definitely something they're going to feel very comfortable with. SCC has played this hero many times. And at the same time, VP has probably not played that much against it. So, you know, that's like one of those benefits when you have those clashing styles of play or picks sometimes. That one team will have a little bit of an advantage there. Ramses is going to go for Diffusal Blade. Wonder why.
Break free.
He's got a Mana Burn. Like, they need some sort of Mana Burn against this last pick Medusa. I think that was a brilliant choice here from Newbee. They also picked it pretty fast. Knew exactly what they wanted when that CK came out.
Just have to make the most out of it. At least they're seeing where the Medusa is farming. They had 2 Observer Wards down. One of them was blocking the Ancient camp. The Medusa was looking to farm up. Newbee actually had to commit 2 Sentry Wards to find just that one Obs.
Still, you're still just waiting for that moment where when VP gets that VP groove going, and they just go from kill to kill and find good fights. But it's not been going too well for them so far. I think we're soon going to see them look for some sort of aggressive smoke, either to try to contest that top tier 1 tower from Newbee, or find them inside their own jungle. Maybe a kill on Medusa would be really big if they could manage, but
Pasha's hunting for it.
Easy.
Like, he's got the Blink Dagger available and now just found a Haste Rune in the bottom river. This is a good way to move forward, but there's also a massive smoked army that Pasha just kept running into. At that kind of speed, he couldn't pull out in time.
That was this Observer Ward down here at the river that saw Pasha pick up the haste. Now it's just an instant go call from Newbee. Bring in their invisible heroes that he can't possibly prepare for. Dream Coil, easy pick.
Yeah, it's meant to be Pasha was fighting the kill with the Blink Dagger.
Yep.
Newbee, just perfect rotations. Turn it on his head. No one's going to show himself on bottom lane, and that's enough for Mugi to initiate. He's got the support from Kaka, so no one already been beaten up. That's a nice way to slow him down. Yep, Diffusal Blade charge from Weaver. No one out of mana in the relocate. Double stun from Kaka. Io gets picked up instantly into the familiar drops. Ramses will die as well. It started off as a gank on no one. The Virtus Pro brought more meat to the table. Maybe they have another fight. Pasha, in he jumps. He was looking for the lasso, couldn't get it on KP. Spike Carapace, the oldest counter in the book to the Batrider. And what was meant to be 1 kill turned to 2, turned to 3, and is now 4 heroes down for Virtus Pro.
They got outplayed really hard there. That's one of the things you can do against this Io, is that you start poking and prodding a guy and they're like, okay, I need help, right? He doesn't have mana. He can't get out. The Dragon Knight has to get help or he will eventually get killed because he has no mana to play around with. They try to come in and assist, and then the whole team is there apart from the Medusa from Newbee. Very nicely set up. So not only was that 4 kills, but SCC was free farming the whole time. So here comes his Aghanim Scepter now. Already 19 minutes in, Yasha Ags. He's got to be the highest net worth in the game. Actually, he still isn't. The Dragon Knight is slightly ahead, but he also went for the Midas build. This is that was a big moment of this game for Newbee. That should put them in a very good position moving forward here, as VP lost a lot of steam there.
Yeah, they actually picked up about 4,000 in the experience and almost the same in the net worth advantage shift. Virtus Pro were holding a slight lead at the beginning.
Mid lane, they're thinking about it.
Yeah, but what have you got? You're going to glimpse him back into the wall, turns on that Aghanim Stone Case, and well, 2 seconds on the stump, lost the lasso. They just combined it all up with familiar drops, holding Ramses in position. Let the snake bounce around, petrifying everybody. As Z, he's running low on mana. He will go down. They get the kill, and no one keeping Kaka in control. The Spike Carapace turn around. At least he'll get that stun back. As Batrider got picked, Mugi. They're retreating towards the shrine. It's already been triggered, so that won't help them. But KP's double Dream Coil, that'll do the work with the familiar drops. So much control from Faith and KP. Lil cannot stand up against us, and another double stun. Kaka in the trees, runs it with a Vendetta. He just wants to one-hit down range, but gets hit by the brief fire of no one. Loses too much life. Mugi's just trying to be a man, but Mugi more of a man. Ultra kill up, and he would love it. He'll take it. It's gonna be solo, and along with it, the rampage of Newbee.
13-0 on this Weaver right now. Mugi is having an incredible game.
You said he went insane last time he played it. I think this is actually stepping it up a level.
Yeah, this is only slightly better. That's the thing, but he's been really good on his Weaver. Oh, he did get the Petrify confirmed there, by the way, at the start of the fight. The Mystic Snake did one-shot the Chaos Knight Illusions. You saw Ramses playing around it very well with the initial Stone Gaze. He was like turning his back, waiting for it to be over. Phantasm, then turned them around, and then, oh man, again. Then there's just a Snake coming in, removing it right away. So they did get the kill on SC, but it takes so many resources for VP to bring down this Medusa. And now they're going to lose the Roshan to boot. They can't get in here in time. This is gone.
Yeah. If they had still had the Firefly up from Pasha, maybe they could give it a shot, but Pasha burnt it and then just threw the Flame Break. So it was more of the just keep it in mind, but not really contesting move from Newbee. And Newbee can just, from VP, Newbee can just keep pushing further ahead. Hand of Midas pickup now from the Puck, so it's old-fashioned style of build from KP, Blink Dagger, and then just get the Midas around the 22-minute mark.
And the slight switch-up that we see a lot of in this patch with the first item Soul Ring. Yeah, it's been very popular on the Puck especially compared to the past. I think we've seen both Universe and KP do it.
Yeah, it was Universe that did it on day one of this competition.
I think so, yeah. But there's many heroes now that start to pick up Soul Ring. I think players are taking more advantage of just sustaining their resources all the time. Soul Ring is, in theory, a really powerful item. You obviously pay health for mana, but it has HP regen in itself. So in a way, you just have a constant flow of mana if you don't get harassed. For a hero like Puck, that actually increases your farming speed by a lot, and allows you to be ready for combat.
I'm thinking about the issues that Virtus Pro are having, and it seems most of them are coming from... I would love to say it's the fact that like it's SC who's just picking up illusions, but it feels like most of the pressure is from Kaka as well as Faith. These familiar drops, the Spy Carapace into the double impale stuns, making so much space for Mugi. How does VP now play around this? How do they play around the control that Newbee seems to be finding every time?
I think one additional Blink Dagger could work wonders for them, either on, I guess it should be on no one. I don't think Ramsey should get a Blink on his CK, but I would like a Blink or Shadow Blade on the Dragon Knight just so they can open the fight. The problem that they seem to be facing right now is that their only really key initiation is that Bat Rider, and he is getting hard countered. Like, Pasha's having a very hard time on his Bat Rider. So, looking toward that Dragon Knight Blink Dagger, especially when you have an IO on backup, you can play really aggressively with Dragon Knight. All that armor plus overcharge makes you an incredibly difficult kill. That could maybe allow them to find and pick off, for example, that Nyx or the Visage early on in the fight. And they could set up from that, even though, you know, Visage isn't exactly the easiest kill, even in the support role. They just need to get the fight started on their terms for once.
It's very difficult, in fact, almost impossible to do while Newbee are doing what they're doing. 5 heroes together. KP is kind of like that guy who's just far enough out that he'll scout out any kind of VP aggressive maneuver in. No one is taking the mid tower, and in fact, talking with KP, gets a Dream Call onto the Dragon Knight. He'll blink out and, well, actually relocated out.
That was a really, really clutch relocate from Lil. Not exactly like he needed to do it that tight, but he did it really, really perfectly. Oh, almost got the TP as well. Went for it. That's I believe that is a frame perfect trick. You have one server tick to do that. If you TP out in the exact tick that you come in from relocate, you get out. Which I think is, what's that? 0.03 seconds? Something like that. Is there 30 ticks per second on the Dota servers? Can't remember what it is. It's very hard. It's happened like twice in the history of Dota.
Ah, that's my line.
I took it. I borrowed it. You can have it back. That's not that good, actually.
Yeah, it's severely overrated.
Yeah. Like a certain player.
Tututa gonna go down in mid. And nothing VP want to do against that one. Obviously, when relocate is down as well, they don't have that that either save or better positioning for the fight. Maybe that's the other thing we could think about for Virtus Pro, where they can find underneath some level of vision so they can understand where the best relocate position is, get into those back lines, kill off the Visage, and let the CK fight away from Medusa.
I think we're kind of getting to the essence of the problem here for VP. There is no good target. I think that's the problem. Like, if maybe they find the Nyx, that's the best target I can think of.
Kaka found a target. Oh,
nice
wait, did he?
Pasha. That's a scan for both teams. Pasha got the hell out of there. So, the problem is, I think if they can catch Nyx or Puck, that's probably the absolute best. But Visage is maybe too hard to kill relative to his fight impact. Like, it's really difficult kill. Medusa is a really difficult kill. The Weaver is going to be very hard to find as well with the counterplace. So who do you go on? That's what seems really hard for VP in these team fights. There's no ideal target.
If you had a silence, I would say the Puck, but you don't. Not an instant one. Solo can't do that.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Like, you need the Bat needs to blink last of the Puck before Puck reacts with phase, or you need to get a Dragon Knight stun, but he doesn't have a Blink Dagger to surprise him with. Chaos Knight takes time to get in. It's just hard all around for VP, and this game is very quickly getting out of reach for them. Really, they're not gaining anything on the map for the last 10 minutes. You look at that gold and the gold graph. Look at all of those green squares and those few red squares in the bottom. That's the last 10 minutes of the game. It's just
It's all Newbee.
20 successful moves for Newbee and like 3 for VP.
And VP just, I think they understand the position they're in, but they're farming up. Maybe that's how we look the other way. We look at the critical items. The fact you do have that 10-second BKB on no one, he will be able to stand a little bit better in the fights. You're getting the Manta style soon up for the CK, so at least he can't be instantly silenced and controlled for that early portion. And then there'll be obviously more CKs to fight with.
Yeah.
The Aghanim Scepter is what Solo's trying to rush up on the Disruptor. So
that's going to take a while.
Yeah, it will.
But it would be a really good item to get. I think at this point what VP should maybe look to do is actually, on second thought, they need to silence the Medusa. I think that's the play, because then Ramses gets to play his hero. Medusa is such a good hero against this Chaos Knight. Oh.
But did no one see that? Karka just ran underneath the Sentry Ward.
Looks like
and the range and melee creep turned over to attack him. So he at least knows where one Sentry is.
If they get the silence on Medusa, maybe the CK can do something. Like, the problem is, you know, I think Ramses' build is good this game. He's going for the Manta as well. For, like you said, he has more illusions. The problem is they all die to this Mystic Snake. But what else would he get? They need someone to be able to kill Medusa. It kind of has to be him through his itemization.
Is it him, or is it going to be DK? Like, he can burn off the mana and then let DK do the last bit of the work.
DK can't kill Medusa with his items.
Oh, right now he's the highest net worth on the field. He has to be able to kill somebody.
Not the Medusa. He can kill other heroes for sure, but if they want to kill Medusa, they need to get her out of mana. That's how the hero works. And none of their heroes innately have an ability to do that, so you have to itemize. Now with Manta and Diffusal, there's a lot of illusion being able to burn that mana from Ramses. What he needs to do is play around that Stone Gaze and Mystic Snake. Last time he played around one of the two. So the best way to secure that, Static Storm on the Medusa. If you can catch her in that, you at least buy Ramses a couple of seconds to go for a target, whether it's Dusa or someone else. You'll get to get something done in the fight. That has to be the approach that VP will be looking for. You're right, at least they're keeping up well in farm on the Dragon Knight. He's definitely rich here.
He's still #1 net worth, but only just.
Not anymore.
Yeah, look at that Weaver. BKB, Diffuser Blade, Dragonlance, plus the Desolator. And now he's looking to build into a Lincoln Sphere, which will take away the initiation the VP would love to use on him, which is the Lasso.
Yeah, they have that on the Medusa as well. Also the Lincolns. Now we're going to see the Manta come out next here for SC. So it's still a very slow build damage-wise, but it gives him a lot of survivability. The thing I was mentioning earlier, I'm really not a fan of this Lincoln's Manta-style build, but I think if you get an Aghanim's first in this type of game, it makes a lot more sense and makes it a way better build. I don't know if the Manta, the primary benefits of it this game is that he can dodge like a CK stun, he can get out of the sticky napalm, and maybe if he's really clutch, get out of the kinetic field. Maybe that's the idea.
This is so good for Newbee. They smoke up. That Observer Ward inside the Dire Jungle sees so much. Lil and Ramses, and they've worked out that something's going on, but Lil trapped by himself. The damage is so high from Mugi. Finish the job. Yep, they finished the job.
Good sticks. Almost got out of there.
And now Newbee, with no IO on the field for 28 seconds, they're going to go high ground, but they also saw the fact that DK was burning his Dragon form to farm up some Ancients. So this DK form will not last long.
Just pop them Mjolnir here as well.
Yep. So the creep wave can come in. Are they backing up? Yeah, they're BTing out. They're not going to force the issue. I thought maybe with no Dragon form, they would consider going high ground. We are 30 minutes in with a lot of critical items already on Newbee.
I just think, just draft-wise, Newbee are not in a hurry. I think this Medusa pick is going to be worse and worse to deal with for VP as the game goes on. They're probably fine with just farming and not giving VP any free kills. Should be feeling ahead in the game. And like they have good control of the map. Probably looking for the next Roshan before they want to go high ground. Get the Aegis on the Medusa, then it's like an extreme fail-safe for that hero. So hard to kill twice. I think that's the goal call, actually, you know? Take it easy, guys. We're ahead. Farm the map, get the Rosh, and then we can think about starting to knock down some base towers.
Well, 15 seconds and Roshan will be up. Meanwhile, Newbee, like, they see exactly where Virtus Pro are. I just want to like praise the warding game of Newbee. They're focused on two areas. One where Lil and Ramses is right now is just the triangle camps for Virtus Pro.
Yep. And VP are very focused on that little bit of the river. I mean,
actually, there's 3 observer wards around that part.
It kind of looks funny, right? It looks very inefficient, but you need to consider what options they have to get out on the map. Like, the map is very scary. They're playing against Nyx Assassin. You get out the vision you can to protect yourself. Like you said, that triangle area, they want to at least cover that so they can farm, so they've warded for that. But here goes the Roche. Very easy pick for Newbee. VP can't really move out on the map with confidence. They're so worried, especially about this Nyx Assassin. And that's really been the story of this pick for us. I think this hero has a really good win rate in the games we've cast, at least. I don't even remember it losing a single time.
I actually cannot believe it got through 2 ban phases. He's going to steal the double damage rune from no one as well. He got through both of the ban phases, and that was when VP first phased up the bat, right?
Yeah.
Didn't ban it in the second phase. They were focusing on everything else, but Kaka's stuns screwed up everything. That gank that was meant to work for Virtus Pro on bottom lane, the relocate in with the CK, and then he just double stuns them. You're like, what do we do now?
Kaka's stuns have been almost perfect the whole game. It's very impressive because Nyx's stun is one of the hardest stuns in the game to use since you can't target it. I believe it's the only stun that is strictly, like the only stun of that type rather, that's strictly ground target. You could say there's like Light Strike, Array from Lina or whatnot, but these like impales, the Lion Impale, they used to be like similar, these 2 spells, but got changed to make it more unique. It gives Nyx, it's like a few situations where you could argue it's an advantage that you ground cast it only, and others, most of the time it's just like, I wish I could click the hero.
I don't think anyone else will actually argue that it's like it's more skill based on the Nyx than like on the Lion, just because also the animation time. The animation time for Impale, I think it got made better, but it used to actually be even worse than what it is.
It's a pretty difficult spell to use effectively in team fights, but Kaka's been doing a good job.
Solo on top. He's still trying to find that farm. He's so close to his Aghanim Scepter. He may as well buy one of these items before death, and he doesn't do it. We'll lose a couple of 100 gold and gives 311 gold over to Faith.
He's keeping his buyback ready, or just didn't react correctly under the pressure there. He lost like 100.
He was actually 60 gold. Like, he got one of the creeps while the farm was going on, while the gank was going on. It was 50 gold away from his Aghanim Scepter. That would have been worth it. It would take him longer than 30 seconds to push the base. But for now, VP just try and keep him out. Nyx Assassin is missing. Weaver is missing. Yes, invisible heroes are missing.
We need detection.
That's
the next one.
Actually, Weaver is definitely not missing. Mr. Arcane Rune Weaver pushing the mid.
Midas is missing no one. How about that?
God. Petrified.
Yeah, here we go. So this is as expected. The Aegis in hand, SCC is going to start going here. They could have waited for his butterfly, but I think they just feel like, you know what, if we do that, we won't have enough time on our Aegis. So rather just going to go and start hitting this tower.
No one's already using the shrine. He needs mana for the fight. Here goes your first attack. It's Rams. He's attacking in. Still has his Phantasm. Going to commit it out as well. But the Stone Gaze, Ray the Mythic Snake, did its work. Disruptor died instantly. They were hoping to wrap around the back, but the stuns are just way too good here from Newbee. No one will stand its ground and at least pick off a bug. But that is all they're going to get from this fight. A buyback from the Dragon Knight. Does not have Dragon Form. BKB or Mjolnir effect. And SC is still as strong as he was when this fight began. Has the Aegis Immortal, 3 familiars dropping down. DK can be silenced up. If this is a dieback, you may as well call the GG, because there's no way Newbee are leaving your base. In fact, that's exactly what happens. Virtus Pro just stunned and outclassed by Newbee here in game 1.
That Medusa pick just kind of sealed the deal to this game. I think that pick was the best pick of the draft. That's the biggest advantage you have by having the second pick, is that absolute last pick of the draft that can sometimes just mess with your opponents really hard. So I think in that fight, that kind of just highlighted the problem that I was mentioning for VP. The Static Storm went on someone else in the Medusa. She cast her ulti, the fight ended. Like, CK went and used Phantasm, they instantly vanished, and then you're like, oh, yeah, well, okay, that's kind of 80% of the hero just out of the window in half a second. Like, how are you supposed to play Chaos Knight in this game? It's probably what Ramses is saying, guys. I couldn't really do anything in this game.
I don't think there was much more to do. Like, Virtus Pro, like, you can't really blame them for what happened. They understood what I think they need to do to do their ganks, and that needed to pay off, but it didn't. So then SC got space, and it just amplified the problem. But problem over, at least for game 1. They can regather and come back for game 2. and see who can actually take it out.
Oh man.
Hard game, hard life. Game 2 in a bit.
Oh damn.